Episode 100. Y'all have been with us. Oh, and also, I have a new report out called Ebony Towers. We're talking about all of it on the other side. Oh, welcome back to another episode of South Star Classroom. That's David, that's Omar, that's Jubilee. I am Charles, and this is episode 100. And I have to say, yes, thank you. It's having the ladies' energy makes us celebrate very differently. Appreciate it. I have to thank David though, because David was the one that was actually keeping track. I stopped keeping track, but David was like, we on episode 100. But let's check in. But before we do, I also want to say hello to our BS3 family. It is actually being run and piped directly into the television network today and through their systems as well. So to those that are new, welcome. We are first and foremost a consultancy that's focused on veteran education for Black and Brown communities. But secondarily, we are a community conversation about education where you come for the talk, but you leave with some actual tools. So BS3 viewers, welcome. And we are lucky to have you. Omar, let's start with you, man. How you doing? How you been? I feel like I ain't seen you in forever, brother. I miss you, man.
Oh, man. Thank you, man. I have been stressed out and busy. It's been a while. Back for 100 episodes.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable, man. I feel like South Park or The Simpsons right now. 100 episodes, man. That is incredible. We ain't going away anytime soon. I am insanely stressed out. It is a stressful time of the year because we're about to leave on summer break. So we got to cram everything in before we leave, which is basically Thursday. So I got tight deadlines. But overall, man, the good news is amongst the stress, it is a fantastic time in Texas going through a massive heat wave. Temperatures rose to 119 degrees in El Paso recently.
My Lord.
You go to San Antonio and 109 degrees with 98% humidity. It is just a good time in Texas right now. My poor dog can't even go outside to go to the restroom because it's so damn hot outside.
My goodness, man. So my little 106 that I had in Austin is just a winter's day at this point, huh?
Indeed, man. That's also a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. It was very.
Were you
hot.
at the national conference, man?
I was. I presented at the national conference, brother. I did the show from the national conference, brother.
I wasn't there, man.
You were gone.
I was gone at that last show, man.
Yeah.
I wish I was there. I was supposed to be there. Couldn't make it this time.
Oh man, I wish you could have been, man. And I'll cover what I was talking about in the second half of the show. But we had presented the report. It was really, really cool. It was a packed room, and pretty much all the chairs were taken, and it was a pretty large room. So thank you for that love. Jubilee, how you doing? Your hair looks nice. Your background looks nice. We got to make sure that we have a record of these compliments we give you, because you be saying we be picking on you. So everybody has complimented Jubilee before she says he's picking on her. How are you?
This is so wrong of you, Charles. But you know what? It's par for the course because I didn't expect anything different. Hi, yay, episode 100. I am doing very, very well. I have been managing lots of stress, just transitioning. I wrapped up a contract, the diversity contract that I had mentioned a couple episodes ago. That one is done. And it's time for annual things in motherhood land, annual dentist and doctors and this appointment and that appointment. So I've been really doing that for myself and my children because we are headed out of town again. It's time to go back to New York, and it's time for my annual mother-daughter vacation. And this year, the location is Jamaica, baby. So I am looking forward to it. I'm okay with the mad dash that I've been in because I know that this time next week I'm going to be on somebody's floaty drinking somebody's rum punch. And that's that.
That sounds good. And shout out to Papa Jubilee, who is a fan of the show and happens to think we're brilliant people, despite what Jubilee says to him about the three of us. So love to him. David, how are you, man? And our favorite show's nephew, man. How last time I checked in, he was pulling weeds and was perplexed at why that needed to happen. So
yeah,
what is the update?
Yeah, the update. He's definitely taken to the outdoor work. But yeah, we're kind of in summer mode. So happy summer to everybody. It's incredible to be at this like marker of 100 shows. I feel like we started during the pandemic, and I feel like we're still coming out of the pandemic, just in terms of the things that we talk about in education. But yeah, like we're in summer mode. We've been getting out a lot, getting a lot of sun, getting exercise, fresh air. We don't have any big plans over the summer. Little trip here, little trip there. We're just gonna like lay low and just enjoy the weather. Like it just started getting warm here. Not Texas hot, sorry. But warm enough. And like you all said, some of my clients are going through that year-to-year transition right now. It's definitely stressful for them. Got some pretty high stakes things on the line right now, but this is the work that we do to support our school leaders and our school systems. And just a reminder, I got you on the line, Omar. I got a meeting request into you, so let's talk after the show.
That's what's up, man. And I guess my check-in, like I said, was a lot of traveling, hence why I need a haircut. And just culturally, y'all about to learn something. I don't shave personally. A barber does that. So it is time. I know I'm looking pretty rough and gruff here, man.
You look great, Charles. You look great.
Thank you. Don't, because it's an insult is coming at some point. It's all good. It's fine. Like we will take it. I think, but it's been really dope, man. And it has been nonstop here as well. A little tired. I know I look tired. You ain't got to tell me. I know it. I've had on other shows, I've had people send a message. You look tired. Like, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate the compliment. But after this, man, towards the end of July, I'm leaving myself. I'm gonna shut it down for a few weeks. I have my timeshare in the Bahamas where I'll go, and then I have a significant birthday coming up this year. And I will be in Brazil. I am leaving. I'm turning it off. I'm going solo. It's gonna be cool. Y'all pray I come back because I might not. But nah, man, work has been happening. Yeah,
they got Wi-Fi in Brazil, so don't even try.
They do. They absolutely got Wi-Fi in Brazil. I'm talking about just in general. Like I might just be there or there in the Bahamas. I love the Bahamas. I actually could see myself living in the Bahamas. I've spent a lot of time there. But today is a special day, and I really want us to take our lap, and I want you all to speak to it. But if I could take a bit of privilege just to start out, I remember meeting Omar at the first ever A Black Hands event in Oakland, and I just remember his energy like from it, and just like running up and wanting to do something. And we had tried a different show with him and his homeboys, and it was actually fun. The name was just incredible. It was incredible. Schedules got in the way. Can you just say the name, the old school name for me one time?
Yeah, man. It was called the Estás en el Puro Wyoming podcast. A throwback to my father.
Jubilee's face. Look at
yeah, man. Julie's like, what the heck did you say? There's a street in El Paso called Wyoming Street. There's no definitive beginning or end. So my dad, as an insult, would be like, Niño, estás en el Puro Wyoming. Basically being you are totally on Wyoming, which means that you're on a street with no beginning, no end, no definitive understanding. It was his way of basically being like, man, you don't know what the hell you're doing. You don't even know what day it is. You don't even know what day it is. And it was like great. My very like super layered way of being like, education doesn't even know where it's at. Like, leadership doesn't know where it's at. This discussion doesn't know where it's at. Long, complicated name for what should have been a relatively easy podcast.
It was great. great. It was great. It had its run. I remember being on the road and having to stop at like a Dunkin' Donuts to like produce the show live.
I remember
And,
that, man. That was
it was
dope.
really cool, and it was really
you were
cool,
coming
man.
straight for Dunkin', and people were like, "Yo, man, I want an extra large with cream in the background."
Hey,
And so we were doing, yeah. Let me get about 40 donut holes. It sounded like a Boston accent. I need something for the boys over at Harvard. They're wicked smart over there.
I love it, man. And since then, man, I've loved Omar, man. Omar has just become one of my favorite people. He is actually the true globetrotter out of all of us. He is. Anytime we do a show, he can be on any continent. We have no idea where he's at. He is the international man of mystery. And it's like, oh, is he Italian today? Like he can he's in Greece. Does he just fit in with the Greeks? I love it, man. But
ethically ambiguous, yes, sir.
I appreciate it, man. Yes, I mean, whenever I go somewhere on that side, I need to take you with me. I'll be okay. But
yeah, man, absolutely. I got you.
Thank you for rocking with me, man, and thank you for being you, man. And Jube, met you through Omar, who like loved you and just had incredible things to say about you from the gate. And we did some episodes and shows together. And it was interesting for us, right? Because it's like three dudes, and we like kind of do what we do, and like we kind of interrupt each other and stuff. But with you, we always is like, how you. I don't know, right? But I think we got our groove, man. But I hope you felt welcomed, and it's been really dope to have you and to have your perspective. And David, I'll go anywhere with you, bro. Like David has just been the big brother that I just never had. He's looked out for me. He's just been incredible. And whatever endeavor I have, if I got power over it or whatever, I'm finding a way to include David. He's one of the wisest people I know. He is one of the people that he pisses off everybody in education equally, including our friends, and that's what made me love him. We were kind of the troublemakers in Oakland, and it's because he called it out. And David changed, bro. I appreciate you, man. But those are my starting off my reflections of the people. Ooh. Now I'll let y'all have a free fall, but I wanted to just show, my appreciation, man, as we continue to grow this thing out, as we continue to figure out what it is. I don't care if it's one person watching or a million, man. I love doing this with you all and having these conversations, and it means a lot to me. So with that, free for all, like I would love for people to just reflect on, what this has meant to them.
I'll go.
Yeah.
So I would say I think this podcast in our 100th show kind of marker for me is important because it brings together like two things for me. Like I love listening to podcasts. I love watching podcasts, not necessarily education podcasts, but like I'm a big fan of all kinds of podcasts. I always have my headphones in. My wife is always like, I'm just not going to talk to you anymore because you always are like, what? I can't hear you. And I just love being in that like space for people talking about different ideas. And so that's one thing. And then obviously the background in education, being able to like bring the two together. I read all the news, I follow the trends, I talk to people. And so this podcast for me has kind of been and continues to be therapeutic, a way for me to like process everything that's happening. And so there are times on the show where we can like forecast stuff. And then there are times on the show where things happen, right? I don't want to get too far ahead in the comments, but like one thing that stood out for me was like right after like Uvalde happened, right? Like we jumped on it and we did that show because we felt like we had to. And I felt like it was a good show. It was good for people to ask questions. It was good for us to talk about it. So I appreciate our like flexibility, our boldness to be able to like talk about stuff. Sometimes when it's like happening in real time. And then I go way back with Charles. I mean, we go back to the days of Oakland. Charles, you too, man. It's been incredible to see you like grow as from when I first met you, you were like a young man and now you're a grown man and to see, you've gone through your like leadership process and now you're the doc, right? And your work has gone from like local to national. So you're definitely like you're a player now, not a player, but you're a player. You're a national player, right? And I just appreciate the partnership, the friendship, and everything that I hope, everything that I give to you, you give to me back, and I hope it's reciprocated like that. So I appreciate you.
Man, I appreciate that.
And Jubilee, like, you've been a great addition to the show. Again, Charles said it was like 3 guys and 3 microphones, and I feel like we had some kind of feeling each other out in the beginning, but like we've gotten into a good groove, and like when you can lock in and bring a show forward and produce a show, like, it's always incredible. So I just look forward to what that looks like in the next 100 with all of us. Your perspective as a parent, as a former educator, as a school leader, and then just your own personal background, I feel like is incredibly invaluable, and I definitely love your energy. So I'm glad to have you here as part of the team. And Omar, same thing. It's rare that we, there aren't enough Latinos in education that are like stepping up to the plate to be leaders like
Yep.
Omar has. And that's a space that like we want to like carve out and carve into and lean into in this next year. Omar is like fierce. I got to visit his schools a couple of weeks ago in El Paso, and it's incredible what he's created there. It's not just the talk, but he's walking the walk. He's doing the work with results, and he's built something really incredible and special in El Paso. And so congratulations to you, Omar, for that. It's not easy work, but you're doing it, and I appreciate your friendship. When I was telling my son this really quickly, when Omar picked me up at the airport in El Paso, I didn't know, I thought he was going to be driving a big Texas truck. And I'm like, what are you in? What are you in, man?
Tell me it's not like, a Prius.
No, it was a Tesla,
Oh, let's go. Let's go. Oh.
Yeah, but he pulls up and he's got the app on his his car's operating system where he can like modify the horns. And so he picks me up at the curb. No, and it's like
Yo, we pulled up and it was hysterical because it's in Paso, right? So everyone understands that. But it's like, and everyone's just like, whoa, whoa. And then people are looking for like the Paleta guy because it sounds a little bit similar to the Paleta song, the Ice Cream Man. Yeah, it was just, people at the airport was like, oh shit, what's up with this, man?
Yeah, like Cucaracha banging. Exactly, that's what's up, man.
That's what's up, man. Yeah. Only the stylist of pickups.
I've lived in hoods with black ass ice cream men, and they had like Cucaracha playing. I don't know what it was. It's like, what was that? The cheap horn? Was that the one that was just like? Did the ice cream truck come with that one?
That's exactly right. Standard issue on all ice cream trucks, and then you have to pay extra for the like ice cream song.
Yeah.
I've definitely
also,
had that one.
One last thing before I close out here, and then next person goes, is I realize like we are all from different generations and different ages. I'm the oldest person on the show. I don't even want to ask how old you all are, but I appreciate the fact that we can have this intergenerational conversation. I don't feel like that ever kind of gets in our way of dialogue, but I just want you all to know, like, I learn a lot from you and like the ways that you move, the ways you behave. Omar is a fly dresser. I'm like, damn, I don't think I dressed like that when I was his age. This man like wears suits and like has boots and he's
our resident model. We call him the model.
Yeah.
For his hair would get blacker every episode. Like he is, he said he stressed out today, but he normally like he'd be like, bro, where are you? What are you doing? Like
a lot of people want to know the answer to that question, man. A lot of people want to know. I came very casual Fridays today.
That's what's up, man.
But I had a friend recently be like, what is going on with your hair? Why is it so black? And I'm like, it's actually like salt and pepper, man. It's hard to tell over the computer that there's like the little salt and pepper, but they're like, I don't know what. And I'm like, I'm literally doing nothing, man. I'm taking biotin. I use Nueve Hierbas shampoo, some good ass, indigenous shampoo from Juarez. I'm like, that's what you got, man. Don't know what else to say. Where I am in the world, however, is no one's business.
You Heard it here.
When he says indigenous shampoo from Juarez, that just means it has a lot of chemicals in it.
Supposedly it's the exact opposite, but who knows? I mean, I literally could be washing my hair with like pure cognac for all I know. Smells good. It smells like roots and berries. I feel like, coming to America, like, man, what do you put in your hair?
Fruits and
Only
berries.
the finest of roots and berries. It's like nothing but active.
It's fruits and berries, man. Not
Yeah,
roots
thank
and
you.
berries,
Fruits
man.
and berries.
Fruits
Thank
and
you.
berries.
Thank you.
You
Coming to
can't
America.
quote that classic black movie and get that
Come
part
on, it's
wrong,
coming
brother.
to America,
And
baby.
then that's why y'all are here to correct. This is the South Star Classroom. We are consultants first. And if you ain't consulting me, then you ain't consulting us.
Well, let's have Jubilee go before you, because I want to hear. I want you to close out our just appreciation for the 100 episodes, just because you were a big spearhead and it even happening back in the day when you ran up on me, which I appreciate. So I want to bestow that honor on you. But Jubilee, you've been with us not as long. Hopefully we made you feel somewhat comfortable. You can stop telling people I discriminate against dogs or whatever things you like to say about me. So yeah.
You know how many shots you done fired, and I'm sitting over here trying to be the good Christian woman that I am, and not fire back. But
woo, Jesus needs your help.
I'm over here trying not to get emotional. Don't say nothing, Charles, because just leave me be. This is my salute. My salute first to Omar, because for me, the opportunity to be a part of this show came at a transitional time for me, where I was wondering where my seat was or where my table was. And so I was in a position where I was trying to fight for a place at a table that no one wanted me at. And so that opportunity closed itself. And then I was left trying to figure out, should I have fought harder? Was I supposed to smash the door open and bring my own chair and say, I'm sitting at this table? And I know the answer is no. But the answer was to seek out. It's either that I was going to build my own table, right, which I am through my own consulting work. And then I got offered a seat at this table, which definitely makes me feel at home. And so, Omar, hats off to you, because for a couple of reasons. One, because we instantaneously connected when we met through this portal. I believe in portals and pathways, right? Sometimes we get into certain opportunities and connections and all of that, and we think that it's for one reason, but it really is just a portal or a pathway to another opportunity. So that's how I see it. So I kind of see us meeting as divine, Omar. And so going to El Paso Leadership Academy, Omar, you won me over, but your staff and your students, oh baby, they won me over.
They're amazing.
Because I think that students, right, and teams carry the heartbeat of their leader when it's done well. Because I believe that that pulse, right, whatever that is, that's created that culture, right, that's able to stand alone outside of the leader or in the leader's absence is truly indicative of what that leader stands for. So the fact that I went through, and I know I didn't get to go to the other side, right, but through that entire campus and spoke to mad people, mad students walking up, speaking to me in English, Spanish, and then finding out they just crossed the border 4 months ago, not speaking a word of English, seeing how much the teachers would just push in, not just with content, but with care, and strategy. And I'm like, yo, this guy, it's amazing. So it was just such an honor to meet you, because you're not a figurehead. You are in the work. You got your hands in there. You're getting stuff done for the least of them, which I consider the children to be, which is really the greatest of them, right? The ones that are mostly overlooked. You're a voice for the voiceless. And so hats off to you for doing the damn thing. That's what most, impressed me. So I celebrate you. And then you're an advocate, because I know you presented yo, you got to be on this podcast. I think you will be great. I didn't even know what the dude was talking about, y'all. I'm like, podcast. I don't know. I'm over here trying to figure out how I'm gonna move forward from this real blow, right? I just got laid off and all these things going on. And he's like, listen, don't forget about the show. I want you to pop on and see, And I know it's because you saw something in me. You felt like I could bring something to the table, and I really did need that push and that acknowledgement in that space so that I could sort of recalibrate and align myself with what was going forward versus what had left the station. So thank you, Omar, a thousand times. Charles, I'm going to always click with you because you started it, and that's how it goes. I was born in 1981, so let's get it popping. Let's keep it popping. That's what it's going to be. You're going to fire shots, and I'm going to fire them back. Now, it may not be on the same shots. Time.
I do nothing but show love and
appreciation. Yeah, when I said that you look good, I meant it. You didn't even want to take the compliment because you tried to say I was insulting you, but whatever.
It's all good.
Dr. Charles, I think you are a brilliant Black man, and I'm so excited to be connected with you in this space with you. Like iron sharpens iron. And I really feel like you're great at that, and I welcome it and I appreciate it. Yeah, I can be sensitive, but I also can take hard truths. And before you guys came on, I told Charles I think we should start a rap group. He tells me he doesn't think that's a good idea, and I don't know why he said that.
It's a terrible idea.
We'll talk about that later. South Star Classroom rappers in the building. What are we talking about? Like, come on. Anyway, Dave, you're amazing. You're versatile. I'm not going to say that I want you to like bring your your DJ skills on the show, even though I kind of do. Right. But thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your calmness and always offering, just multiple perspectives. Like you are this wise dude that's just confident with his stuff. And that just
beard of knowledge, man.
Beard of knowledge. Yeah, it means a lot. So, yeah. So I love you. Thank you for welcoming me in and creating space for me at this table. And I plan to be here a while. Thank you.
That's what's up, man. And I know. And Omar, I'm going to say this publicly because you are busy and you got business to handle. So I want you to give your thoughts and wrap in where you want to see us go. And then you are officially kicked off today's episode. So
no, I got. Jubilee said I got a team behind the scenes working on what we need to get done. We got a Department of Education grant due tomorrow that I need to submit today. There's a ton of work, but I have effectively gotten the team organized to get a ton of this stuff done in the background. So I am just filling in the gaps, but I am here for this show because it is 100. It is 100. I am here to celebrate what was at one time just a small idea. And the small idea was just sudden. I'm sitting in the audience in Oakland watching eight Black Hands present and simultaneously supported, emboldened, mesmerized by 4 very intelligent men that all happen to be Black, which is badass because we don't often hear from the minorities in education. There's very few of us who are minorities and leaders in this space, but really about effective methodologies and strategies. And it simultaneously pissed me off because I was like, yo, man, where are all the Latinos at? And I looked around the room and there was 2 of us. And one was, a principal and the other one was me. And I just bum rushed the stage because Charles had the vision for this a long time ago. And Charles, I hope you remember, but even during the show, you made the announcement. You were like, yo, if we can get the Latino leaders up here, the women up here, we need to start hearing from these diverse voices because they are not represented. And I was like, hey, I'm in. You want a Latino representation? I am in. And it was at that moment that you took an inordinate amount of confidence and took me seriously. And I got to tell you all, as Jubilee talks about setting your own table, I think by that point, and certainly by now, I am absolutely not going to do anything except start setting the table and creating the table. Because every other table, to me, is a table that doesn't take us seriously. And it's shocking to me that those tables who have been fundamentally run by certain groups and certain demographics and certain people, they never would have taken me seriously the way Charles did. That was such a vote of confidence from Charles to be like, yeah, man, like I see you and I think we can do something. So it means the world to me to have someone like Charles, who is not just a leader in his field, but someone who knows and understands talent and can understand the bridges that we can build instead of creating the same obstacles that every other table has decided to put up. And from that moment, I think I was solidified in my thinking that, yeah, this is us to create this table for us, for our group, for all of the people who chime into the show, for everyone who's disenfranchised. This is now the table, because I don't think that anyone else in the traditional groups have had such a fervent passion to work with those who have often been left voiceless. So I got to give huge shout outs to my man, Charles, the doctor. He's a real doctor, y'all. I say that every show, lovingly and jokingly. It's a shout out to the doc. It's a shout out to the fact that he has created something that needed to have been created. And I was just the happy-go-lucky weirdo who like bum rushed the stage. And I was like, we're going to do this. And he's like, I don't even know you that well, mister. Who are you? And I was like, I'm serious. We're doing this shit. So we, and it was fun. We got started out with some fun ass podcasts, and the evolution has now become from a show to a consortium of people who are passionate and adamant about changing education in this country. And I think it was our discussions, Charles, and what we were trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish in this country that drove us to talk about David, because you were like, yo, I know this Latino cat. He starts some shit. And he, in all of the best ways, because this man is sick and tired of the status quo, sick and tired of being told that certain kids couldn't do certain things, sick and tired of bureaucracies thwarting our children's ability to succeed in this country, sick and tired of old industrial ass systems basically being like, it's always been done this way. And I was like, dude, who is this cat? I want to meet him immediately. Oh yeah, he also happened to start one of the fundamentally best charter schools and schools in the entire Bay Area nationally, and is just this profoundly intelligent and substantive school leader who knows just about what you need to know in education. And that's how we got to meet David. And it was just magic, man. Absolutely magic. Mm-hmm. And I think on my end, it was a matter of, I come from a city and from a place where there's a silo mentality. And I think education is a silo mentality. And for our audience, be like, what the hell does that mean? It means that like everyone just wants to be the king of their own little kingdom. Mm-hmm. And it's small, and it's like, I'd rather be the king of my little kingdom than get together with all these other kingdoms and do something substantive, because for them it's all about being king and it's not about the people of Camelot. And that to me is just a broke ass ideology, and it seemed inordinately dumb to follow those same ideologies that I think El Paso does to a horrifying extent. A lot of people do to a horrifying extent. Be like, no, we need to team up. And in that respect, when you meet someone as wonderful as David, and then you meet someone as jubilous, if that's a word.
Ain't she named perfectly?
Exactly. As brilliant, as fun, as intelligent, as it's like the perfect combination. Y'all, if you have not had a chance to get to know Jubilee, despite the fact that she is so fun and outgoing, the woman is insanely substantive. When we were at the El Paso Leadership Academy and when we were working together, the reason I take Jubilee so seriously is because I am looking at substance and data first and deciphering what are the things that you are doing that are actually going to make metrics and change for kids. And are those things substantive, or are you just another clown in the show? And I can tell you I think Jubilee understands who the clowns and the shows are, therefore is exceedingly serious and is exceedingly substantive in the level of work that she does. So when I met her, I was like, you're not going anywhere. You're way too smart and way too cool and way too talented and way too fun to not be incorporated into what we're trying to do. And as we're at the 100th episode, and I can kind of pull apart the veil of what the South Star is and what ultimately this consortium is trying to do, is this to me is like Voltron. This is the breaking apart of silos and getting 4 people who are insanely good at what we do, who work in various tenets of education, and saying the combined talents of the 4 of us can absolutely transform a school district. We can absolutely transform the way a school is managed from head to toe so that the outcomes are for students and that the outcomes ensure that students who have been traditionally condemned to poverty can garner an educational opportunity that will then change their life and the cycle of poverty thereafter. So to me, the South Star Classroom wasn't just an opportunity to have a show, ladies and gentlemen. Our goal is to ultimately come into communities, as Charles has been doing, as David has been doing, and as Jubilee continues to do, and start working with people who are like-minded, who are willing to grow, who are willing to take a risk, and start doing highly substantive work to transform the lives of kids. So in that respect, you've got 3 beautiful altruists who are brilliant, fun, cool, and amazing human beings who now get to go, yeah. Did you hear that, Jubilee? I just started the South Star rap group, except terribly. It was the worst R&B song.
It's a terrible idea.
Charles loves it. I know he's nodding his head.
It's still a terrible idea.
I mean,
go ahead.
Almost as good, if not as bad, as the song "Tender Love."
It is as bad in an idea as treating dogs as if they were humans.
But did you catch it that Omar said that his dog couldn't even go outside to use the restroom? I am not alone, and neither are you.
Yeah,
Omar.
y'all both weird. It's okay.
Yeah. Hey, and I am fully acceptant of all that, and I know I'm weird. That is why, ladies and gentlemen, it's the weird ones that destroy the status quo and make opportunities for the kids of tomorrow.
The ones that kiss dogs in the mouth, but
this ain't sexual chocolate.
Go ahead and jump in there, David.
Yeah. So, I want to drop a few pieces here. It'll be quick, and then let's move on to your report, Charles. I think it's hard to remember back to like our first, 20 or 30 or 40 shows. So these shows might be like more of the like shows that have been more recent that have stood out to me. I love the show that we did on ChatGPT, right? We were like probably one of the first education podcasts to jump into that, number one. I love the show that we did recently on social media. I thought that was very powerful. And I also love the show that you brought forward, Charles, a couple months ago on John Morant, right? And so the point being there is like, we are an education podcast. We focus primarily on issues that have to do with Black and brown children, Black and brown communities. And these issues have to deal with them, but they're also like universal themes.
Right.
So thinking about going forward in the show, I look forward to like identifying more universal themes that we can kind of dive into. Both in terms of content and figuring out this thing called podcasting. I'd like to pull in more guests. I think we also need to like dive into, which we haven't talked about so much, is the the issue of literacy and like reading instruction,
right?
And that whole piece, right? We haven't really gotten into that, and that's still a thing. And of course, near and dear to my heart, matters of like special education, English language learners. I'd like to see us doing some live shows in the next year.
Yep.
I'd love to see us doing we, like Charles, you and I, we come from Oakland, so we feel like we talk about it all the time, but maybe other people want to hear more about it. So doing like, let's do some regional, like let's do Indy, Let's do DC. Let's do Oakland. Let's do LA. Let's do El Paso. Let's do San Antonio. Let's do Houston. More like regional focus. And then last one is a show I'm putting together. I want to open the door to having the conversation around Montessori in the public sphere for Black and brown children. So,
I think
that's what I got
dope.
right now. Yep.
I think that's dope, man. And I'm down for all of that. I think just to add on to that, and then I'll transition into the report is, and again, Omar, you are dismissed if you want to be. I'm just telling
I'm
you.
good, brother. I'm good. I'm here.
All right, that's on you. Don't be like I'm tired.
Ain't no one kicking me out.
You know what I'm saying? I also would like to say this too, man. If there's a young person out there that is interested in like learn how to produce or edit or help manage with certain things, I ain't got a lot of money. I might be able to stipend you something, but we could definitely use the help. And I think being able to actually be able to be part of it's something when you are producing versus like being able to just be in the joint. I saw Toya, I saw it. And Toya, we need to have you on more. Toya just needs to. She's just going to be our community, our community correspondent from Philly.
Philly.
She's have her own segment every 2 or 3 episodes where she just checking in from the streets of what she's doing.
Oh, we could have a great Philly special. Yeah,
I think that'd be awesome, man. I think, but yeah, man. I think growing it. I think one of the pages that I create on YouTube, it's not growing as fast, but I'm just moving it back to my YouTube page where they have Google has changed the partner program, so I only need 100 or so more followers there, and we can actually integrate more things from the YouTube algorithm and from the platform. So just continuing to grow it, man, and I appreciate it. And now part of this and what we try to do in these shows is like make the education conversation accessible. Make it to where you don't have to feel ashamed. Make it to where, there's a way education people talk. And I usually really just call it bullshit, to be honest with you. I just like it is built the way that they talk. It builds more barriers than it does bring people in. And I think, what we've been able to do is kind of break those very complicated things down. So when David says he wants to do an episode on Montessori schools, that's a name, that's a word that did not flow in my neighborhood. Probably doesn't flow in a lot of brown neighborhoods. Probably doesn't flow in a lot of poor neighborhoods, right? Like, and really understanding how that stuff can serve our people. And it might be a fit for you and your family. Like, we want to introduce those things. And I need to be educated on it some more too, even though I've seen what Urban Montessori has done in Oakland and it's been great. And our lineage as Black people was a one school classroom, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of people, right? So just to hear those things and learn it, man, I'm really grateful. And to bring it to where we are with this, right? Like this is the report that I just produced called Ebony Towers, and it was characteristics of Black charter school leaders with HBCU roots. And here's the thing, I want to be very clear, and you can let's take the banner down, Dave, so your face ain't blocked. But I would just say, I don't want your face blocked out, brother. I want them to be able to see you, man. I've only had a few writing partners in my life. One is Kamara Gwynn, who wrote this with me, and the other is David Castillo. And one is just the man can write, and he worked his ass off. We worked really hard on that Brown report. This Ebony Towers report is more so than just a study on Black-led charter schools of leaders that came from HBCUs. It's a history of Black education in this country. It's a history of how poor Black people recently out of slavery helped create a public education system that the South now has, or the work that somebody like Booker T. Washington did that has led to the creation of hundreds of schools, many of which are still standing, or W.E.B. Du Bois building these connections with other leaders at the Niagara Conference, which this group that would historically become the NAACP, as he was arguing against something that Booker T. Washington said. It's a very rich history, and we really put a lot of medicine in this ice cream. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about with you all, and if you want to watch it, if you want to read it, you can just go to my website. It is charlescoe3rd.com. It's right there on the front page. You can download it. I would hope that you read it. We also created videos for it. We interviewed 5 of the leaders. You got to hear their story. And it was just so much to learn there. It's one of the richest reports that I've ever been part of writing. But one of the recommendations that I had in it, and I would love to get you all's overall reaction to the report as a whole. It's a lot to go through. But here's one of the reactions. Here's one of the recommendations that I had. One of the recommendations I had was to actually go back and restore a lot of the value that HBCUs had. And HBCUs, when they were created for a few different reasons, but one of the most important was so Black people could educate their own, like we could educate our own kids. It was a teacher's college. It was really heavily focused on K-12 and education and different types of work. The other thing, and my writing partner, Kamara Gwynn, says this a lot. If you ever want to know what's going on in Black America, go to an HBCU, because those are the issues that they're trying to solve collectively. And one of my recommendations was I think that there should be HBCU minted charter schools, a whole new category where there's a set of standards like we outlined here that all these leaders had for these kids, very similar to what Jubilee outlined when she went to Omar School, about how people felt welcomed and people were learning and it didn't matter where they came from. We can educate them all. Like, those are principles. And I think that people have had to fight. Black people have had to fight this charter school narrative from people that don't know their kids, don't know their schools, all this stuff. And for some reason, tell Black people that it's on them to save the public education system, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But I do think that there should be a standard that we set, that we build, that says, hey, this isn't just any type of charter school. This is an HBCU minted charter school. And if it's bad, we close it down. If it's not serving the people, we police ourselves in that. But we have an apparatus by which Black people can be educated. And it's the same way HBCUs are open to everybody. These will be open to everybody as well. But it would be, focused on what is focused on. And I don't have a problem if there's a brown version of that. I don't have a problem if there's an Asian version of that. I don't have a problem if there's a poor white version of that in this country. And so, I'll stop there. But I'm very, very proud of this piece. We just presented in Austin. I'll be presenting in Atlanta in a few weeks to HBCU presidents and people that work in HBCUs at the Unite conference. And I have plans to recreate and rebuild a Niagara conference where we bring together some of the best minds in education and really try to answer, how do we improve education for Black people in this country, have a closed door conversation and get it in, whether we on different sides of that aisle or not. Those are the conversations that got to happen. So I was long-winded, but I know Jubilee read it. I know Jubilee was very supportive. I wasn't even going to have it as a topic, and Jubilee kind of co-produced this episode. So, Ju, why don't you kick us off just with your thoughts, and we can kind of start there. Like, what stood out on this report? Why did you feel that it was important to kind of share it in this venue?
I just, a couple of episodes came to mind. We did a recent one about charter schools overall, and I just feel like this was a missing piece. I would have loved to have this report connected to that conversation as well, because I see, like, in terms of the success, so many similarities and things that you talked about in terms of the autonomy, the sense of community. Like, these are things that help students thrive, and these are things that are really huge needs, especially for Black students. So that's one. Two, and just first of all, the report it's incredible from the way that you both just grounded the conversation with the historical information, with Booker T. Washington, with W.E.B. Du Bois, and then like help the reader to understand, just like you said earlier, without a bunch of fluff and a bunch of, high-end language. It's like, this is what it is. These two dudes, this dude believed this dude believed that, and here we are. Like, that was so helpful to be able to draw the reader in. The interviews as well, and those direct quotes from the principals, also really helpful. I wish that my computer didn't like spaz on me or what have you. So, so yeah, it was also extremely nostalgic for me to read. So for example, like on page 9, there's a quote that said, "We get to define what education looks like and bring it back closer to who we are as a people and how we operate as a culture." And it made me think about when I was leading a school. We used to sing "Funga Alafia Ashe Ashe." Funga Alafia Ashe Ashe, right? Every single morning as a community. If parents wanted to come in for that time of the day, they were able to, and it just grounded the day, right? Compared to some other schools that I was in, like that building of community, the autonomy to make those kinds of decisions, like they just didn't exist. But in the places where I led and served, where there was space to build community, right? Connected to African culture, connected to what you would see in an HBCU. I mean, the joy factor was on 1,000. Kids running through that door wanting to be in that building was on 1,000. Educators wanting to be in that building was on 1,000. So I think it's great that we have a report that sort of supports that. And let me see. I'm looking at my notes. My question, what I wanted to hear more about was representation. Like, how did the role of representation, what was the role of representation in the cultivation and development of the leaders' systems, perspectives, and skill sets? That was my question. I didn't get through all of the videos. I watched the first one, and that was my question. I was like, I wanted to know, like, these leaders, that they saw other leaders like themselves, right? And if they did, which I'm assuming they did because they went to HBCUs, how did that impact what they believed they could do?
Yeah, and so there were two things, and I think that's a good question. One, very similar to the report that David and I did together. We only worked and talked to schools that were high performing, that had good numbers, that were educating young people very well. And in that report, which you can go see our report. If you go to the website, it's the Brown. We call it the Brown report. It's our code name for it. And then there's a Black report, and then there's this one. So that was one. We wanted to see who was actually doing this work well. And then two, all these people went to different. We talked to 13 different leaders. They went to different HBCUs. There might have been a few that overlapped, but there's this thing in an HBCU where they are really building you up as far as like who you are as a Black person, and their education is not individualistic, I should say. It's very communal. It's very like you get this you get this value of community there. So even though somebody went to school in Atlanta and somebody went to school in Florida or somebody went to school in Kentucky, they still all got this same kind of message that it was their responsibility to take care of their community. Mm-hmm. And again, I believe that when you try to focus on everybody, when you try to serve everybody, you serve no one. So serve the crowd that you need to. And if it's quality, everybody can take something from it. That was an example when I wrote the Agentic Black Parent Handbook. I got letters and emails from Asian parents that read that, who are new to this country, that said, hey, I know my kid isn't Black, but this was so helpful, like, to me, because it was very like direct. I just love stories. And I like stories, even if they don't have anything to do with me. And I think, but this one was special because as a Black person, a lot of those stories, a lot of my history was taken from me. Like, I don't know who my great grandparents are. I know one great grandmother. Her name is Rosie. That's it. I can't go back 5 generations, 6, 7 generations. So to gather these stories and, like, you know, everybody on this call right now has so much more than the people that actually put their coins together, put their faiths together, and built schools. Like, we have so much more, you know, and like, this is why I always push David to just tell those stories of like his parents, or when Omar's going to a story. Like, I like hearing that when he's talking about his parents being a part of a farming generation and what that meant. And I didn't grow up in that culture. I did live in Paducah, Kentucky, with a lot of poor Black people and a lot of poor white people, where farms played a big role, and I could see it. And I lived in Stockton. I saw a lot of migrant workers. So I wanted just to connect those stories. So that was really important. What I try to do in reports is reports are boring as hell to read. Let's just be honest. They really suck to read. They're not fun reading. I can tell you as a professional, I can tell you as a doctor, and I'm sure y'all can tell as people who have led schools and had to read boring reports. But if you could see yourself represented in a way of excellence, I think it's beautiful. And I think lastly, I don't just believe in representation. I believe in high quality representation. What do I mean? I don't want to do shit just because it's black. I don't just because it's black. Like if it's black and whack, I don't want to, that's not representation to me. Like I wanted to take the cream of the crop that built something from nothing, you know what I'm saying? And kind of build and create from there. Like I just saw a movie called The Blackening, right? I actually love this movie. Like it was so good. And the movie is very insider black, right? And it's like, it's funny, but anybody can go and you'll get some jokes and some you won't. But it's like, oh, this is about to be the new Juneteenth movie. The way I watched The Christmas Story growing up, I watched A Christmas Story about that white family and that damn leg lamp and triple dog dare and putting your tongue on the pole. I watch that faithfully every year. So to have something of quality that represents something that is of me feels very good. And it's certain things. And like I had a lot of Mexican friends growing up, and like I love being with them and hearing their stories. The same way living in Maywood, it's Italian and black. Like I like those old Italian stories, even though, you know, so when you asked about representation, I think there's a bad way to do representation. I think there's a good way. I like when we create our own, but I like when there's a story that will empower you and people are being excellent in what they do. I like to highlight that. So that hopefully that answers your question.
It does. I have one more thing that I want to lift, and that is I believe that this report, like the information, is transferable, right? It's about Black kids and all that, but I think this way of being can be used in any setting because it highlights that are most important, right, in the support of children flourishing wherever they go. So I feel like you could take this this report, like for example, I love the recommendations. Yes, because you can read it and walk away with something, right? But where you number 8 says explore formal partnership opportunities between K-12 schools and HBCUs, right? Such as feeder schools, dual enrollment, laboratory schools, co-located schools, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? But the word partnership, right, brings up this point, and that is ask Black people, right? Ask the HBCU folks, ask the Asian folks, ask the Latino folks, right? About their culture, about their community. If you know you're going to be serving children from these communities, then you need to sit down and learn a bit more if you're going to be serving them in schools. I think that that's not done enough. I think because of colonialism, because of, you know, the superiority complex of, you know, Europe in our world and all these and white people in our world, education takes that form on. And then for years, you've had to just follow suit and do what they said we need to do. So you had to fight to get that kind of representation in school. And I think what this report is calling for could really, I think it's pivotal if people actually take the recommendations and implement it and understand in partnership and respect for the culture and the community that we're serving. We should be bringing that into the environments where these children are going to school.
Yeah, and I open it up to the fellas, and I appreciate that. I'll just say this: it is the report is both simultaneously very, very Black and also very high quality in a way that any leader worth their salt will read it and be like, "No, we do that too. We create a sense of community. We do need a level of autonomy and being able to say these." I can hold a standard for my teachers. There's an authenticity that is baked into our work, whether I'm doing a school in El Paso or I'm doing a school in Brooklyn. Like there's something about that place. And so, you know, we wanted to hit both those levels to where you could read it as a Black person and feel something, but you could read it as somebody who just wants to be a better leader and see things and be like, oh, I see through lines there. And David and Omar, I appreciate you allowing the liberties of me kind of being able to expound and expand on that. But if you did get a chance to glance at it or any comments or thoughts, the floor is definitely yours. And Jubilee, thank you so much for just being a huge cheerleader for it and pushing me to even talk about it today. Because I've been talking about it so much, it slipped my mind to I wasn't even gonna mention it. So
yeah, job well done.
Well, thank you. Dave and O.
Yeah, I'll go quickly. I think number one, I appreciate the work that you do, especially like when you're doing it with Kamar. I got to see part of this presentation when we were together in DC a couple months ago. I thought the whole look back and the retrospective on not just HBCUs, but going back to the roots of education in African American communities in the U.S. was, like, for me in the audience, was mind blowing. Right? I'm like, such a rich history. So to see that incorporated as a starting point in this report, and in the presentations you do is, I think, is super important because it sets the context for where we are now. I think the 5 high points that come out of the report and the recommendations, I see a lot of parallels with that and the report that we did on Latino leaders. I look forward to doing a report on Latino and Latina educators as well, because whenever I see parallels or synchronicity, I'm like, that's where we should be working together, right? And that's why we started this show, bringing Black and Brown communities together around, specifically these matters of education. I think the idea of the HBCU, like, sponsored or operated charter school is interesting. Again, like, I'm no fan of, like, having religion cross the border into government, but I am a supporter of, like, single sex or even, like, single gender or race-based, public charter schools. I don't, the 100 Black men tried to do that in Oakland a while back, and it wasn't so successful, but it's something that I support and something that I think we should continue to keep on the table if we can prove that it is of some kind of benefit to our children. Number two, I want to reference a recent report that you may have seen. People aren't going to read it because it's too academic. That's okay. No. This is Travis Bristol coming out of UC Berkeley, right?
I know Travis
Bristol. And, I'll read the headline to you, right? The effects of student-teacher ethno-racial matching, meaning having students and teachers that look the same, on exclusionary discipline, which means suspensions, for Asian American, Black, Latinx students from a study in New York City. And they basically found that when there's a match between Black students and Black teachers, Brown students and Brown teachers, suspension rates drop tremendously, period, right? So we have all kinds of data. This just came out to show that, like this kind of model is something that we should continue to look at and support. And I think the last thing I'll add here is, I talk about this concept of natural accountability on the show. It's not accountability that comes from the government or the state or the county or your authorizer. It comes from the community, right? When you can have educators that are school leaders that are from the community, serving children from the community that look like them, that live in the same community, that's called natural accountability. And it is the highest form, the highest level of accountability towards creating, like, high quality, supportive, culturally affirming school options for our children. And so your report just backs all that up, Charles. So thank you for doing the work, and thank you, Kamar, for being a partner in that work with you.
Yeah, I love it, man. Thank you. And I'll pass that message on to him. And I don't know if you got a chance to look at it, but floor is yours.
No, unfortunately, I've been really tied up with everything. So this week I didn't get a chance to look at it. I was just kind of listening in on you all and the pretty profound work that you all did. So I don't like to chime in, just not having context of reading everything, because then it just kind of becomes a weird assumption. But hey, man, don't be sitting on that Credo report, man.
I got it. I ain't got an issue with Credo. Credo is fine. I'm just saying it's a tough read if you a layperson. That's all.
I talked that mad shit to my boy who's like an organizer, who to this day still thinks that we're like cherry picking kids. And I was like, yeah, man, like, take that cherry picking argument.
That's from the 90s,
turn
man.
that some a bit sideways and stick it straight up.
Right.
As The Rock would say, a certain area. That's right, Jubilee. I'm a fan of The Rock. I'm a fan of Dwayne Johnson.
Do you know what The Rock
did with things when he turned them sideways? And that's why that report was take all that nonsense about charter schools that you keep spouting, turn it sideways, and now you got nowhere to run. And now I'm going on the offensive, man. I'm going Clubber Lang. Every time some punk, some bum, fighting other bums, talking about how they're training kids.
I'm a Rocky fan, so I get it.
Look, listen to me. Clubber Lang was the hero of that movie. He was the hero of that movie. Rocky Balboa was absolutely the villain of that movie, but as a science fiction piece of cinematography, you can't tell me that a 4'2" little Irishman from Philadelphia is taking on Apollo Creed and Clubber Lang and not getting thrown over a mountain.
See, the Irish and the Italians gonna gang up and get you, and they gonna revoke your Italian-Irish card. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Man, you're there.
I know, man. All 150 of the 4'2" Italians who think that they're professional boxers, come on down.
Oh my!
Shout out to Mr. T, man. Listen, I know we are at time, and this is great. I mean, listen, man. I think here's what I'll say, and at the end of the day, if you have a product that is education or anything serving the community, and you do not have reports or testimonies or stories from those end users, from the people that has experience in that product, then your product is faulty. There's nothing in America that serves an end user, and we don't ask them how they are experiencing it. I'm telling you, Amazon would deliver a package, and I got to fill out a survey for how they delivered the package. It's like, what am I rating Jeff Bezos? I don't know, right? But when it comes to schools, we never ask young people, how you experiencing this, or parents, how you experiencing this product? And that's really at the heart of all the reports that I do, and I'm just genuinely curious. I do one about Chinese kids. Actually, part of the reason I became a doctor, one of the earlier studies that I read was basically about this little school named Lincoln in Oakland, California, that is a Chinese school in Chinatown, that is a traditional public school, and just about the level of success they have and how they have it. And you know what? It's that ethno matching that David just talked about. And ironically enough, none of us knows in a public system, a traditional public system, how they were able to do that, but it's worth studying and is worth learning. So if anybody out there wants that type of study for your own school, if you want that for your own district, then invite us in. And that would allow me to actually involve these beautiful people here, so we can do those things and kind of add some humanity into that work. I know it's past time. If y'all don't mind, I can skip final thoughts unless you have a burning one. But I want to release Omar and the team. So does anybody have a burning final thought that I don't want to silence nobody?
Yes, I do have a burning final thought. Okay. It is thank you to this team. Thank you to our amazing audience who have been with us for 100 shows, and here's to 100 more and 100 after that.
Hey, man, I think that was beautiful, man. And with that said, and lastly, I'll say this. I don't care. I never have cared the delivery model of the school. I don't care if it's a traditional school, a Montessori school, a private school, a charter school, a home school, a lab school. I truly don't care. Wherever our people are, then I want to know what's going on, and I'm curious, and I'm curious about it. So I just picked charters in that instance because it is the path of least resistance for Black people to reclaim education and educate their kids the way that they want to, in a way that honors them, in a way that holds high expectations, where the government does not set the standard. What the government says is not the standard, but the floor. And until we got enough money to do it all private, which I would prefer, I will utilize whatever gets us free the fastest. So with that said, that's Omar, that's Jubilee, that's David, I am Charles, and we will see you all next. We will be gone for 4th of July. We will not be here on the 4th. That's right. But we will see you all again very soon.
That's right.
Yes, that y'all got the 4th off.
Celebrating America. But Mountain Dew hard.
And y'all have a good one. We are out.